Are you over 70 and taking daily medications? This video reveals 4 common medication mistakes many seniors unknowingly make, and how to avoid them to stay safe, sharp, and independent. From skip doses to outdated prescriptions, we'll guide you through simple, practical steps to protect your health and feel your best. Have you ever stood in front of your pill box, wondering, did I already take my morning meds? Or was that yesterday? Or maybe you felt dizzy, forgetful, or just off, only to find out a medication you've been taking for years might suddenly be the reason. If any of that sounds familiar, you're not alone and you're not to blame. The truth is, as we get older, our bodies change. What worked perfectly fine when we were 40 or 50 might not sit so well once we pass 70. Medications we once trusted can turn tricky, even dangerous, if we're not careful. And no one hands us a warning sign or a manual for that, do they? But that's what we're here for today. In this video, we're going to talk about something that could literally save your life or the life of someone you love. We're diving into 4 of the most common and often overlooked medication mistakes people make after 70. And more importantly, I'll show you how to avoid them with simple, doable steps. This isn't about fear, it's about power. Power through knowledge and peace of mind through better choices. So let's take a deep breath and start with something that happens all the time, even to the most responsible people out there. One of the biggest mistakes after 70 is accidentally taking the wrong dosage, or even the wrong medication entirely. Now, I know what you might be thinking. I've been taking my prescriptions for years. I know exactly what I'm doing. But here's what most folks don't realize. Our memory doesn't always play fair as we age. Add in similar looking pills, changing prescriptions, and those teeny tiny labels, and you've got a recipe for confusion. Maybe you skip a dose and double up later. Maybe you accidentally take your evening medication in the morning, or forget that your doctor lowered your dosage last visit. It doesn't take much for one small slip-up to lead to a big problem, like a fall from low blood pressure, a hospital visit due to interactions, or a day lost to grogginess and brain fog. That's why keeping a structured system is so important. Not just tossing pills into a weekly organizer, but setting a real, mindful routine. Choose one specific time each day. Tie it to a habit you already have, like brushing your teeth or making your morning tea. Keep your medications in the same place every time. And mark your doses off on a simple paper chart or a small whiteboard on the fridge. If you're into tech, there are great pill reminder apps that can buzz your phone gently. But paper works just as well. And if your prescriptions change often, don't be shy about updating your organizer that same day. You can even ask your pharmacist to print larger labels or use color-coded caps to help distinguish between similar-looking bottles. Little tricks like that can go a long way in keeping things clear and safe. Now, let's talk about something that's a bit trickier to spot, but just as dangerous: continuing to take medications that are no longer needed or even harmful. This one creeps in slowly. A blood pressure pill from 10 years ago that was once essential but now makes you lightheaded. A sleep aid that helped with insomnia in your 60s but leaves you foggy and sluggish in your 70s. Or a pain reliever you've used for decades that now upsets your stomach or increases your risk of bleeding. Our bodies become more sensitive with age. The kidneys don't clear things out as quickly. The liver processes things differently. Even brain chemistry shifts. That means a medication that helped you in your 50s can become too strong, or even dangerous in your 70s or 80s. And yet, these medications often stay on the list in question because they've been there so long they feel permanent. But here's the thing: nothing about your health should be on autopilot. If it's been more than 6 months since your last medication review, it's time to schedule one. Not just with your primary care doctor, but also your pharmacist. Yes, they're medication experts, and they can often catch interactions or outdated drugs that even a doctor might overlook. Ask them this: do I still need this? Is the dosage right for my age? Are there safer alternatives now? Sometimes just asking that question opens the door to feeling better almost immediately. One woman I spoke with, her name's Margaret, was taking a muscle relaxer her doctor had prescribed years ago for back pain. She said it made her feel tired all the time, but figured that was just part of aging. Turns out, her body wasn't handling the drug the same way it used to. when she switched to a lower dose and added some gentle stretching to her routine. Not only did the fatigue disappear, but she also felt sharper and more in control. It was a small change, but it gave her part of her life back. That's what we're aiming for here, not just safety, but better quality of life. So if you've been taking the same medications for years, take a moment to ask, are they still helping? Or could they be quietly hurting? It's not about questioning your doctor, it's about teaming up with them. You are the most important member of your healthcare team. And don't worry if you feel nervous about asking those questions. You're not being difficult, you're being smart. Advocating for yourself isn't a sign of stubbornness. It's a sign of strength. After all, you've lived long enough to know that health isn't something to take lightly. Now that we've talked about medication mix-ups and outdated prescriptions, let's keep this momentum going. There's another sneaky mistake that trips up a lot of folks, and it often happens. Not because of what you take, but what you don't say to your doctor. Have you ever felt something strange, maybe a new ache, a flutter in your chest, or a feeling of being off balance, and thought, well, I guess that's just part of getting older? It's easy to brush those feelings aside, especially when you already take a few medications and assume the side effects are normal. But here's something important to remember. Your doctor isn't a mind reader. And when it comes to medication safety, silence can be risky. One of the most common and easily overlooked medication mistakes is not sharing your symptoms or concerns during appointments. Maybe it's because the appointment feels rushed, or you don't want to seem like you're complaining. Maybe you've just gotten used to dealing with the discomfort quietly, assuming it's not worth mentioning. But here's the truth. Even the smallest symptoms can offer big clues about how your medications are affecting you. Dizziness, fatigue, muscle weakness, memory lapses, or even changes in mood. These aren't just signs of aging. They can be red flags that something isn't sitting right with your current prescriptions. Let me tell you about Joe. He's 74, active, and proud of how well he manages his health. But he started noticing that every afternoon, he felt cloudy, like his brain was walking through fog. He assumed it was just part of getting older. His doctor had prescribed a new blood pressure medication months earlier, but he never connected the dots. It wasn't until his daughter urged him to bring it up during a routine checkup that they realized the timing of the dose was off. A simple adjustment, taking it at bedtime instead of morning, made all the difference. Suddenly, that fog lifted. That's why it's so important to speak up. Keep a small notebook or use your phone to jot down how you feel each day, especially when starting a new medication. When you go in for a checkup, bring those notes with you. Tell your doctor everything, even if it feels minor. You might be surprised how often those small things lead to big solutions. Another thing that can cause problems without us even realizing it: over-the-counter medications and supplements. It's easy to think that if something doesn't require a prescription, it must be safe. But once you're taking multiple medications, especially after 70, those store-bought pills can turn into troublemakers. Pain relievers, antacids, allergy pills, herbal supplements, even a daily multivitamin can interact with your prescriptions in ways you'd never expect. You might reach for ibuprofen because of a sore knee, not realizing it can raise your blood pressure or increase bleeding risk when paired with a blood thinner. Or maybe you take a sleeping pill now and then, not knowing it can increase confusion and the risk of falling, especially when combined with other medications that affect your brain. And let's not even get started on the hidden risks in natural supplements, which aren't regulated the same way as prescriptions. I remember a gentleman named Raymond, 78, who took a popular herbal supplement every morning because he'd heard it helped with memory. It seemed harmless, just a plant, after all. But when he began having issues with irregular heartbeat, his doctor discovered it was interacting with his heart medication in a dangerous way. Raymond was shocked. He thought he was doing something good for his health, and instead, it was quietly undermining it. That's why it's so important to share everything you're taking with your healthcare providers, not just prescriptions. Bring the actual bottles to your next appointment if you need to. Don't forget to include supplements, vitamins, over-the-counter meds, and even creams or ointments. If you're taking it, it matters. And here's a tip that can help simplify things. Stick with one pharmacy whenever possible. When all your prescriptions are filled in one place, Your pharmacist can catch possible interactions between your medications even, ones your doctor might miss. Pharmacists are like silent bodyguards in your healthcare journey. They see the full picture, and that makes a difference. Now, I know all this might sound like a lot, and maybe you're wondering, why should I go through all this effort? I've made it this far, haven't I? And you're absolutely right, you've made it far. And that's exactly why you deserve to feel your best now. Not just to survive, but to thrive. To have energy for the grandkids. To feel sharp and steady on your feet. To sleep better, laugh more, and enjoy each day with less worry. Avoiding these medication mistakes isn't about fear, it's about freedom. The freedom to move through life with confidence, knowing your health is in your hands. And it's not as complicated as it might seem. A few mindful steps: being open with your doctor, staying consistent with your routine, and treating over-the-counter meds with the same respect as prescriptions can protect you in ways you may not even realize. You've already got the wisdom. Now it's just about using it in the right places. And speaking of wisdom, there's one more medication mistake we need to talk about, something that happens not because of what we do, but because of what we don't know is happening inside our bodies. Let's take a moment to look a little deeper. Sometimes, the biggest dangers aren't loud or obvious. They're quiet, subtle, hidden in the background of everyday life. And when it comes to medication, one of the most serious mistakes people make after 70 is assuming that their body processes drugs the same way it used to. But here's the thing, our bodies change. Not just the way we move or how we sleep, but how our liver and kidneys work, how our metabolism slows down, and how our body stores medication. That means a dosage that worked just fine when you were 55 could become risky, too strong, too long-lasting, or too hard to clear out of your system once you're 75. It's not something most people think about. After all, if the dose worked before, why wouldn't it still work now? But your organs aren't machines, they age with you. The liver becomes less efficient. The kidneys filter more slowly. That means drugs can linger longer in your bloodstream, making side effects more likely and more dangerous. Take sedatives or sleep aids, for example. A small dose might have helped you drift off easily 10 years ago, but now it could leave you feeling groggy the next morning, off balance, or even confused. And that's not just uncomfortable, it can lead to falls, hospital visits, and serious complications. Even common medications for anxiety, allergies, or acid reflux can behave differently as we age. What used to be mild can become overpowering. And the real danger? It doesn't always hit you all at once. It creeps up slowly. A bit of dizziness here, some forgetfulness there, until one day, you're unsure whether it's the medication or your memory failing. This is why regular medication reviews are so important, especially after 70. And not just with your doctor. Talk to your pharmacist too. Sit down once or twice a year and go over everything you're taking. Ask, do I still need this? Is the dose still right for me? Is there a safer alternative now? Because medicine isn't a one-size-fits-all situation. It needs to grow with you, not stay frozen in time. I remember speaking with a woman named Doris, 81, sharp as a tack and full of life. She had been on the same antidepressant for nearly 2 decades. It had helped her through some tough years, but she hadn't really questioned it since. Eventually, she started having tremors in her hands and felt increasingly tired. At first, she blamed it on age. But after a medication review, her new doctor realized the dosage hadn't been adjusted in years and it was simply too much for her system now. After carefully tapering and switching to something milder, Doris felt like herself again. That's the kind of transformation that's possible when you stay proactive. When you remember that your body isn't the same as it was 10 years ago, and that's okay. It just means your care needs to adapt right along with you. So let's take a moment to bring it all together. Think back for a second. How often have you skipped doses because you forgot or didn't think it mattered just once? How often have you ignored side effects, thinking they were just part of getting older? Have you ever taken something from the pharmacy shelf without telling your doctor because it seemed harmless? Or stuck with a medication for years without ever asking if it's still right for you? If any of that sounds familiar, you're not alone. These are the 4 most common medication mistakes people make after 70. But here's the best part, every single one of them is fixable. You don't need to make huge, dramatic changes. Just small, steady steps done with care and intention. Set up a simple routine to help you remember your medications. Use a pill organizer, alarms, even sticky notes on the fridge if that works for you. Keep a list of everything you're taking, including over-the-counter items, and bring it to every appointment. Pay attention to how you feel not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. And most importantly, speak up. You know your body better than anyone else, and your voice matters. You've earned the right to live this chapter of your life with clarity, confidence, and peace of mind. Medication can be a blessing, but only when it's used wisely, thoughtfully, and with awareness. So today, make a promise to yourself, not out of fear, but out of love for your body, your time, your future. Be curious. Ask questions. Take charge. Because your health isn't about perfection. It's about presence. Being here, being well, and being you. If this video helped you feel a little more confident or brought something to light that you hadn't considered before, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and share your experience. You never know, your story might help someone else on their journey, too. And if you found this conversation helpful, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. It helps more people like you find this kind of honest, encouraging content. And if you're not already part of this growing community, hit that subscribe button. We've got more down-to-earth health tips, inspiring stories, and practical advice coming your way. Thank you for spending this time with me. It's never too late to take better care of yourself, and every small step counts. Here's to clear minds, strong bodies, and living your best life at any age. You've got this.